Willkommen Sie mit. Steigen Sie ein in den Sing Out Express.
Like thunder in Mosby, they sound so rare. With the engine high and up somewhere. Out in the river, and the say, we're rolling onward. Better day, so we'll travel in and we'll travel well. North and south on the Sing Out Express. Freedom is the free. Freedom is the free. You gotta pay a price. You gotta sacrifice for your liberty.
Europe, May 1st, 1966. At the invitation of the German government and parliamentary leaders of all parties, 150 young Americans of Sing Out 66 flew from Washington, D.C. en route for Bonn, Germany.
Freedom is the free. Freedom is the free. You gotta pay.
Bild am Sonntag described them, America has sent over the Atlantic a new voice. It calls with enthusiastic eagerness for a revolution of the heart.
You gotta pay a price. You gotta sacrifice for your liberty. Well, freedom is the word.
Die Welt called them another younger America prepared to pay an even higher price for freedom. Panorama on German television reported they appeal for sacrifice and the readiness to get involved and call for a morality for the rights of humanity and for a better world.
For your liberty.
2 hours after arrival, they were received on the steps of the Palais Schaumburg by Chancellor Erhard, who was accompanied by members of his cabinet, including the Foreign Minister and Minister of Interior.
Unsere beiden Länder, unsere beiden Völker sind
Our whole nation, our whole people, is closely linked with America in the same ideal, which is the will to maintain and defend a society of freedom and democracy, even if this demands, as you sing, a price to be paid.
Ich glaube, für diesen Preis
I believe that no sacrifice is too big for this aim.
zu groß.
And the fact that we stand here together, and that perhaps no two countries are more closely tied than the United States and Germany, is for us in Germany confirmation that freedom is not lost, so long as people are prepared to stand up for it and defend it in whichever way it may be.
Sie zu verteidigen, für sie zu kämpfen, auf welchem Felde es auch immer
And
sein
I hope that you will take home from Germany the picture of a people,
mit nach Hause,
of a nation
ein Volk
that wants to fight with you to build a new world,
zusammenarbeiten,
a better world,
zusammenstehen will,
a free world,
eine neue
a
Welt
peaceful
zu schaffen.
world.
Eine bessere, eine freiheitliche und eine friedliche Welt.
The Chancellor was also accompanied by his wife, by members of his household and guests. Following the reception, national radio and television recorded, watched by an unofficial observer. From the palace to the parliament for lunch. And a reception by the vice president of the parliament, Dr. Daler. From Bonn, they charged the length and breadth of the land. sang and spoke to minister presidents and mayors, generals of the Bundeswehr and of the American Army, politicians and press, industrialists and workers, sisters and soldiers, rebels and refugees. They sang in theaters, marketplaces, gymnasiums, city squares, circuses, sail rings, convents, colleges, auditoriums, parks, palaces, high schools, gardens. The people listened. They caught the spark, the rhythm and the vision, the vastness of the goals these young Americans had set themselves. Could this be the way from under the shadow of the past on which young Germany could run shoulder to shoulder with the youth of every nation? At the end of a demonstration, when a break could be made in the applause.
Well, thank you very much. I think we ought to have a sing out.
Hamburg, Wuppertal, Wolfsburg, München, Würzburg, Hanover, Ulm, Munster, Nuremberg, Dusseldorf, Stuttgart, Essen, Neuss.
Do you agree? Now, tomorrow at 6 o'clock in this very hall, we're going to have the first rehearsal.
The rehearsals were jammed. 3 or 4 of the young Americans would return to each city to train the German students.
I understood that it was to wake up the people, and I really saw that they are people who don't say always what other people want to hear, but that they say what they really mean.
Where there was more than one show in an area, the students who had seen Sing Out the day before, or even that afternoon, would explode onto the stage and join in the finale. Bild am Sonntag called it Storm on the Stage. Sing Out is gripping Europe. Bild am Sonntag reported many enthusiastic observers feel that Freedom Isn't Free, with its contagious rhythm and inner enthusiasm, could well become the theme song of the Western world.
When I saw Sing Out the first time, I was very impressed by the speed of the music and the people. Some days later, I met these Americans and talked with them. There I saw the great idea which is standing behind. And so I decided to spend some days with these young Americans to spread out these good ideas over Germany and the world.
I was born in the valley where the train goes whistling through. And the ring of the
In the Ruhr, an unused school for young miners was made available as a training center. There, the young Americans met for 5 days with 100 representatives from Sing Outs, which had sprung up in 14 cities across Germany. The Army provided food and bedding.
I was enthusiastic by the music, by the movies in the show, and the spirit which was showed by the movies and the music. And when I went home, I thought about the moral standards, and then I had the idea to go with the Sing Out, and we need some more enthusiastic and the spirit and the way to live you have shown us.
For 5 days, the Germans met together with the Americans. They wrote songs, refined their ideas, lived hard, played hard, and worked hard.
Now I was at this conference. I talked with many Americans, and I saw that they could give us a conviction with which we can work, which we can go on with this conviction, and we have got the capacity to form a new spirit in Europe.
And these people are really have this idea inside, and this idea is completely what they want to see, and this idea is what they live for, and you feel it at once, especially when the people talk about how they came to sing out. It was very, very interesting, and really, from that moment on, I feel I have to join this movement.
I think with Sing Out we can unite the whole youth of Europe, and if we live after the same standards, then we have a chance to unite Europe.
The whole of our family, the 6 of us, and our parents have found a common purpose, living for this idea.
The unique nature of this occasion drew students from all parts of Europe, eager to discover the secret of Sing Out. They came from Holland, Luxembourg, Britain, Norway, Sweden, Italy, Switzerland, and also France. From the new life in these young Germans came the musical expression of their own convictions. Sing Out Germany. Of them, the Westdeutsche Allgemeine Zeitung, the Ruhr's largest paper, wrote, "The youth of Sing Out aim to live moral rearmament, not as a religion or as a party, not piously, but as a will and battle for freedom. If democracy has a right to existence and a place in this world, it must have a new spirit, be filled with a fresh inner fire, and be carried with a clear aim. To achieve this must be the reason the German government has invited Sing Out to Germany." They set out across Germany with the young Americans, 240 strong. Together, they demonstrated the unity of their aim. In Munster, in Hanover, in Wolfsburg, Volkswagen capital of the world.
The East Germans said to me that we have to change the way of life in West Germany, and that we have to give them an example, and that we have to give them better ideas than the communists. And I thought that the idea of Sing Out and the idea of moral rearmament is that idea.
The government took us on a tour of the border between East and West, and we went to a village which was divided by barbed wire. On one side there was freedom, on the other side there wasn't. And we were asked to sing to the people on the eastern side. So we stood in a hayfield, and we pointed our sound equipment across the barbed wire into the eastern sector. And as we started to sing, people crowded in windows, whole families crowded in windows. They climbed out onto their roofs. They ran down the road and sat on fences, longing to hear what we had to say. And even when policemen came to try to break them up, they kept coming back, and they kept waving, because they were saying through us what they longed to say to the whole world. And after seeing people who don't have their freedom, freedom burned in our hearts, and it became a desperate reality. And we decided there on the border with 90 young Germans who represented sing-outs from all across Germany to live in such a new way that all the walls which are in men's hearts and all the walls which are in nations will one day fall.
You have awakened the conscience of Germany to the fact that freedom is not free. It is a very great thing you have done, was Chancellor Ludwig Erhard's evaluation of the effect of Sing Out 66 when he asked to meet their representatives for the third time. 14,000 people flooded into Dortmund's Westfalenhalle Arena in the heart of the industrial Ruhr for the culminating demonstration of Sing Out 66 in Germany.
I was walking down the street. The milkman and the postman and the policeman I did meet. There in every window and in every single door. Why, I recognize people I never noticed before. Up with people, you feel wherever you go. Up with people, they're the best kind of folks we know. More people, all people everywhere.
The Americans left the stage to allow 300 students from Sing Outs throughout Germany to take over the finale. The national television, after observing the demonstrations in other cities, asked to make a half-hour recording. Then, due to the enthusiasm of its staff, decided to tape a full hour. The coverage reached an estimated audience of 5 million beyond the Iron Curtain. Attending the demonstration was a former resistance leader and deputy from the south of France, Madame Irene Lohr, called by both Robert Schumann and Konrad Adenauer the woman who has done more than any other to bring unity between France and Germany.
Comme Européenne, je suis infiniment reconnaissante à l'Amérique d'être venue 2 fois au...
As a European, I am infinitely grateful to America for having come twice to the rescue of Europe. This summer, I had the chance to see in Germany a further arrival of Americans with an absolutely dynamic force of young people, determined to bring a new spirit for all humanity. Their enthusiasm enthused thousands of young Germans, and for the first time, I have an absolute confidence that Europe, all the countries of Europe and the world, will be able to trust these young Germans.
Sing Out has shown us that we can be patriotic without ever being nationalist again. It has given us young Germans a chance to build together with the youth of all nations a world that works.
From Dortmund, Sing Out 66 headed for Austria at the invitation of the Chancellor, Dr. Joseph Klaus. They rehearsed and continued their school studies as they traveled. Vienna. Dr. Gruber, Secretary of State, welcomed Sing Out 66 at the station. Within a few hours, they sang and spoke to citizens and civil servants, students, and statesmen. Chancellor Klaus received the young Americans in his office.
Ich darf Ihnen sagen, dass die Botschaft, die Sie aus Amerika
I can also tell you that the message which you are bringing from America is something which we have long awaited and which we very warmly and heartfully accept. We are clear that freedom is not something which is given to you free, that it doesn't just come as a gift, but you've got to fight for it. You've got to sacrifice for it. But we are also clear that once you have achieved your freedom, you cannot take it lightly. You cannot just take it for granted, but you have got to make something of it. The Chancellor saw 8,000 of his compatriots take part in the demonstration of Sing Out 66, described by the Austrian Courier as an explosion, pure culture. Neues Österreich wrote, "The entire hall was like one large community." Salzburg. Guests of the governor, Dr. Lechner, who told the young Americans, 20 years ago, your fathers brought us freedom, something we will never forget. With your enthusiasm, conviction, and tremendous vitality, you are bringing to the latter part of this century a new freedom, the freedom in man's own spirit. Only long hours and hard work by cast and crew could keep pace with the demand for demonstration. Spanish government heard of the Sing Out wave. Invited by the Minister of Information, they flew to Madrid. Their first visit was to the government television studios where they taped a 30-minute show to be broadcast nationally. In 30 hours, they sang out and spoke out to a cross-section of the youth and leadership of the Spanish capital. In the floodlit Retiro Gardens, before the Minister of Information and patrons of the theater festival. In the sports arena, before 5,000 students and auto workers, and the President of Spain's Olympic Committee. In the sold-out Zarzuela Opera House, where Madrid society gave them the handkerchief salute, usually reserved only for outstanding matadors. In their mountain camp, 3,500 student officer cadets marched past in salute to Sing Out 66 before the demonstration. In their 6 weeks in Europe, Sing Out 66 had set a new pattern of action for thousands concerned for the future of their nation. Chancellor Erhardt's invitation to Germany was no diplomatic gambit brewed in a bureaucratic huddle, but a sincere, open-hearted attempt, in the words of one columnist, to link up a generation around the world in a common aim and action. America has poured out blood and treasure for 25 years to create a stable peace in Europe. Now, 150 young Americans come with a spirit which cures the causes of war and provides the incentives to build a different future. The young Germans, blackmailed into silence by the shadow of the past. The young Austrians, living at the crossroads of East and West in a setting of past greatness. The young Spaniards, till now aloof from the speed of the times. These Europeans ran to join in the task they saw the young Americans undertaking. Konrad Adenauer, great Chancellor of post-war Germany, told the men and women of Sing Out 66,
Sie vertreten die Prinzipien der moralischen Aufrüstung.
You stand for the principles of moral rearmament. And I wish with all my heart that in all nations, in private and public life, these principles will again be made regnant. I do want to say, stay faithful to these principles, and wherever you go, as effectively as you can, make them a reality in every nation. That is the most important thing to do.